Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Land Your Ground. I'm the host Chase Burns here with a good friend today and a special guest for episode 2. We have Shay Litwiler, who's going to talk to us about beginning out as a farmer and growing an operation by picking up his own piece of land and just some really cool stories, the genesis, I guess, of a farmer. So I'm excited. I really appreciate you coming in here today, and I hope that our guests are going to get a lot out of this. Welcome, Shay. How are we doing today?
Doing real good. How are you?
Good. Doing really, really well. We got a
Good.
little bit of a rain today, which is okay with you or not?
Yeah, I'm not quite ready to roll for harvest, so it's good for me.
Yeah, at
We
the
need-
time-
need some moisture.
Yes, we do. At the time we're recording this, we're late September. Coming up, harvest is like just spitting distance away, right?
Yep. Next week I'll be harvesting.
Yeah.
So
Well, why
looking
don't
forward to it.
Why don't we start with you just kind of telling us a little bit about, I mean, I've known you for quite a few years. I was thinking last night about when we first met, and I think it was a church potluck is the first time I remember actually meeting Shay Litwiler
Yep.
and grabbing my food and going through the line. And this guy asked me like, so what do you do? Right? Well, I'll tell you what I do. And you told me what you do. And next thing I know is like, you're sitting here at my table.
Yeah.
That conversation was,
We had a little business that we needed to get
yeah,
done, and
which,
God put you in the perfect spot at the perfect time.
well, he put you in the perfect spot too. We've
Yeah.
talked about that before. So it's
Yep.
just, it's amazing how God brings people's paths together sometimes. And so for the viewers and the people that are listening to this who don't know, Shay is one of my dear friends. Got a lot of respect for this guy. And I think after you hear a little bit more of his story, I'm excited for people to get to hear more about you because I think a lot of people, I don't know anybody who knows you who doesn't have good things to say. So,
That's good.
Yeah, right.
That's a good thing.
That's the most we can hope for in life.
think
So anyway, why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction so that I can quit botching it and just hear like, who is Shay Litwiler? Tell me, what's your story?
Well, 39 years old, born and raised in Aledo, Illinois. We just had normal childhood, We lived in town in Aledo, and graduated from Aledo High School, went to Blackhawk College for 2.5 years for law enforcement, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
After I went 2.5 years there, I got a job at Aledo Police Department,
City cop.
city cop.
Yeah.
It
Did you
was,
enjoy that? Was that like
I
you were
enjoyed
living
it at
dream?
the time, but I'm
Yeah.
very glad I'm not doing it anymore.
That's a
But,
young man's job.
Miss the people that I worked with and everything, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, it's I worked third shifts almost for 7.5 years.
Yeah, that's rough.
I was school resource officer for like 2 years,
That's an important job.
which was good, working days, and we had one kid at the time. We now have 5.
Up to 5.
Yeah, so I'll tell you that story in a second. But we went to Blackhawk, got the police job, was a firefighter, volunteer firefighter in Aledo, worked on the ambulance crew in Aledo as an EMT for a couple years.
Big into community service, aren't you?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of did it all and took it all and
Yeah.
just wanted to learn more about everything.
What made you want to go the law enforcement path? I mean, I think I kind of,
So going back just a little bit back into high school, I wanted to be a landscape architect. So
a little bit of a shift.
I'm not sure. There was an opportunity, I think, talking to somebody on the local police department that they needed people. They always needed people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it just sparked my interest enough to change paths, I guess. But that's where I ended up.
Yeah.
So got 2005, got a police officer job in Aledo. And this kind of spins into the next part of my life, but got my first job living with my parents, had a little money.
Yeah.
So I went and bought a new four-wheeler. And while I was at a pancake breakfast, believe it or not, my wife walked through the line.
Oh,
Soon to be wife.
yeah.
Yeah.
Woman loves pancakes.
That's
She's
right.
after my own heart.
So we we had known each other our whole lives, family.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa was friends with my brother in his grade and stuff, so
Gotcha.
it's kind of a little awkward. But anyhow, I asked her if she wanted to go four-wheeling. So
it's a great first date.
Yeah, so we went four-wheeling, ended up at her family's pond for a couple hours, and then ended up back at her house talking till the wee hours of the night. And so yeah, in 2006, married Lisa, and she grew up on a farm north of Aledo. So met her. I was a police officer for 7 years. We had Tice in 2008, and then Grace in 2011. My years might be off, but
so you got first one's a son,
first
and then
one's
you have
boy,
4 daughters,
4 girls. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we fast forward a little bit. We had our kids. We actually moved back into. Well, let me go back a second. I was police officer for the 7.5 years. Probably the last 3 or 4 years of that, maybe even more than that, probably 5. I was helping on the family farm, Lisa's family farm.
Kind of helping with planting and harvest and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, mainly just a kind of a grunt.
Drive a tractor here and there?
Auger cart here and there. Yeah. Straight trucks, wagons, pulled wagons around, stuff like that. So I was working third shift. I'd get off in the morning, go home, nap for a couple hours, come back to the farm, work for 3 or 4 hours, go home, take a nap, go back to work.
Yeah.
And that was my life during harvest, and planting too. Did some field work and stuff like that. So
probably didn't do much with the livestock yet, though, did you?
No. I mean, I might have been a guy to help sort or stand there and run a gate or something like that. But no involvement.
Yeah, not in charge of anything.
Not learning anything. Just being there.
Yep.
As a extra body.
Yeah.
So. 2013, my mother-in-law died in a side-by-side accident. And from there, life changed dramatically. We had Tice and Grace at the time. Tice was 5 and Grace was 2.
This was like, and I know this is an emotional topic for you, so, talk about it as much as you feel comfortable if you want to, but I think this part of your story is one of the most interesting of any of like the farmers that I've ever met or talked to, because most of them are born into it, right? Most people don't just wake up one day and all of a sudden they're thrust into a farm business. And, so when you're working as a city cop and you're kind of just pitching in here or there when there's a need, and then kind of the matriarch of the family, right?
Oh yeah.
She was the hub, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was the hub of everything.
Yeah.
The farming operation, the family, everything.
So, I mean, big loss on obviously every level.
Yeah.
But when that happened, there just became this hole, right? And it was just more than just emotionally, but like stuff had to get done. Yeah. And you're still working as a cop at that time.
Yeah. So actually I was hired by Bill and Marion, just about 1 year before she passed.
Okay.
So, they had a guy helping them, had an accident, ended up, they hired me, took a pretty big pay cut to come to the farm. But we ended up selling our house in Preemption where we lived, our whole married life, I guess. And then ended up just a quarter mile down the road from the farm. Yeah. We bought a house at auction. So I was close to the farm, was able to help a lot more, So they hired me basically as a truck driver, fall help, spring help, cattle help, I was just hired hand doing everything and anything. Yeah. Picking up rocks, sticks, all those jobs that now I can send my kids to do.
Yes.
But
it's
anyhow,
nice to have children around.
But yeah, so I was just like a year. So had a year on the farm. Really, again, I was a grunt. I mean,
a lot to learn.
I they gave me 30 acres about the time that I came on that I could start farming on my own.
Okay.
So that was like first year I planted 30 acres.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything else. Didn't plant anything else, but planted 30 acres.
Yeah.
And then it was fun, getting going, trying to figure things out.
Corn and beans.
Corn and beans. Yep. So yeah, I'd never run the baler. I'd never,
Did you ever think that you would become a farmer? Like when you were growing up and you were thinking about all your career paths, was it ever like on your radar or something that like, some kids dream of being a fireman and never do it. And some kids dream about being an astronaut, but like there are kids that dream about farming every day because they play with little trucks and tractors on the living room floor. Grandpa own a farm, or dad is a farmer or something. They're somehow tied to it.
Yeah. So the little kid playing with tractors and pedal tractors and all that stuff, that was me.
Oh, so that was your resume.
It was, but I just didn't have a place to go to do that stuff. So actually going back to childhood, there was a farmer, Jim Childs, right on the edge of town. Great guy. And I used to ride my bike out there, and going back to pedal tractor days, like me and my friend, his dad built like wagons and disc and everything to pull behind our pedal tractors. So we had backing competitions. Like we, figured out how to maneuver stuff. That was what we did as kids. So funny thing, I went out to this farm, rode my bike out. He had pigs, like open air pigs out in the lot and stuff.
Yeah.
And so he needed somebody to haul water. And just so happened he put me on a farm haul H one day. And I'm probably, 10, 11, maybe, something like that. And I was like, hey, we got to go water the pigs.
He thought you were up for the task.
I was like, all right. He's like, can you back up? I said, I think so.
Yeah, I'm semi-pro.
So
do it all the time.
I went out on that farm H with no power steering, and backed right up to the water tank, and that was my job. For the summers. I would ride my bike out.
Boom.
Get on the water tank, go do that. I help them cut some pigs every once in a while, and when I was, little pigs, because I couldn't handle the big stuff. But yeah, I always loved the farm life, I would say. But basically I went out and helped so I could hop on his four-wheeler when I got done working.
Yeah, that's fair.
And go ride the four-wheeler, because I loved riding four-wheelers, but didn't have one in town and everything. So that was the perk of it, I guess. Yeah.
Got you into the country a little bit. Got a taste of it.
So, and then, a buddy of mine grew up on a farm, and I was out at his farm a lot. I loved the farm life. I loved being out in the country, loved all that stuff, but never thought it was my future.
Yeah. So fast forward again, back up to now, post your mother-in-law passing. Now you're all of a sudden, you wake up the next day. What happens? Like,
a lot.
No doubt. Let's say particularly with the farm, the farm operation.
So I felt like at that time, God just told me, he's like, this is going to take Bill a little while, my father-in-law, to get through this stuff. And you're the man for the job. So I don't know what it, don't know what it looks like for you, but you're here for a reason. Yeah. And so at the time we had about she died December, and we started calving in January. I had no experience with cattle. I was the guy that helped sort.
How many head are we talking about?
So we were running 86 cows at the time.
Okay. So we got 86 bred cows.
Yep.
Ready to calve within a few weeks.
Ready to calve. She died December 31st.
Oh, wow.
Middle of January was, we already had some in and locked in, ready to calve. So, so at the time we had just moved into the home farm. So all of our calving operation is at the home farm there. So that was going to be my job, was watching the calves. Yeah. With help, obviously. Marion was going to come up, and she was teaching me what to look for in You know, how when they're getting close to calving,
Right,
springing,
yep,
bagging, you know, all that stuff.
What are the
And,
cues?
yeah.
Yeah.
I knew none of it. So
What'd you do?
so here I am trying to figure out of 86 cows which ones I'm supposed to lock in.
I can't imagine.
So I
have a hard time figuring it out sometimes.
So I ended up locking in probably 50% of the herd.
They're all gonna go
every
tomorrow.
night.
I don't
Every
know.
night because I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, that one looks like it has a bag.
Yeah.
And that's all I didn't even think about like the springing aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Never been taught that. I mean, maybe once in a while, Marion would be like, you know, I'm keeping that one in because it's springing. I didn't pay attention because I thought she was gonna she was gonna be there to do it all.
Right. Yeah.
So
I don't need to know that yet.
So I mean, I would look at one that has maybe 3/4 of bag full, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna calve like tonight, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it never failed. I'd have, I don't know how many, but I'd have a lot of them locked in.
Yeah.
And I was getting up. Didn't have cameras at the time, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting up probably I would say every hour.
Yeah.
On the hour.
Back to third shift again.
Back to third,
and
yeah,
second and
basically,
first.
yes, yeah, all hours of the day. So
Yeah.
I was getting up, you know, walking out, and this is January
Mm-hmm.
in the Midwest. So you'd walk out at 1 o'clock in the morning. As soon as you walk out the door, you know, you just feel like you got slapped in the face by the weather.
The
walk
air
out.
hurts your face here in January.
So you go out, you walk through all the cattle and the ones you got locked in, and you're like, I don't see anything. Never failed that first year. Walked out into because I would bring everything in every night. They used to, Marion was so good that she would sort them off. And I mean, it never failed. She had them locked in. She knew which ones, and the ones that weren't close or whatever, she would let them go out in 300 acres of cropland and, you know, do their thing. Well, I wasn't doing that. Like, I had them all locked in, all the lots that I had. And sure enough, you'd go out in the ones that I didn't lock in.
There'd be a calf.
There's a baby calf laying in the snow, laying in the slop, you know, whatever it was at that time.
Yeah.
So, I told somebody I had pulled a calf, but never been the one to put the chains on, never been the one to, you know, run the jack, nothing like that. Mm-hmm. So I think that first year, I bet I pulled 12 of the first 20 calves just because I was scared.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what to, you know, hey,
Right. How long is this supposed to take?
Yeah, I saw a water sack or I saw, you know, a foot, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get that thing out. So I'd get in there and pull it out. Right. It didn't need pulled probably, but that's what I did because I didn't want a dead calf. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, we had my mother and father-in-law used to do this all the time too, but I bet I had 15 calves in our basement. That's how we warmed them. We didn't have we didn't have a calf warmer or anything at the time. So
that's what a walkout basement is for, right?
So I'd throw them on the back of the 4-wheeler, drive them up to the house. We had a little bathroom right inside the back door, and that's what I did. Put them in there until I thought they were good, take them back out. But
people who aren't familiar with farm life, that's a totally foreign concept to them. Oh, and like they would not like you when somebody hears that for the first time. They're like, "You did what with a baby calf?" Yeah. Like. Covered in goop and manure and whatever, and you brought it in to put it in your bathtub, or you did what, you know, or how many baby lambs did you have in your garage? Like, this is normal, okay? If you're not from the farm and you just have no exposure to that, you would just be like, what? Don't you have barns? We do, right? We do, but you care enough about the animal that you're not going to risk it. You just
that barn's 30 degrees or negative 20 degrees, whatever it is, at the same time. And, ours is an open face, you know, shed. So
if the damage is making a little bit of a mess, but you get that calf's body temperature warmed up and you save its life and you ensure that, like, this is our next crop, like, this is how we make a living. And not only just do we care about, you know, the humane aspect of the animal, but this is money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to make sure that crop of beef makes it from day one all the way to the time it's ready to go to a locker, or you made $0.
Exactly.
It's big.
So it was it was something. Like, I mean, I didn't sleep.
Yeah.
You know, it was.
You aged 10 years that first season.
I would say yes, absolutely.
You don't look it. I didn't mean to make it like.
Well, there's no hair left underneath his hat, but.
Well, maybe. Well, you also have 5 kids,
it's
so
gray.
it's a combination of things, right?
It's a combination. But it was, you know, I'll never forget. I had one that I wasn't sucking on the mother, and that was Marion's.
Yeah.
That was Marion's job, and
she was the
one to bottle feed him. So I'll never forget taking it down to my father-in-law's house, and I was like, I have no clue what to do here. I know it needs bagged, but I have no clue. And you know, he's struggling. Obviously, lost his wife, and he wasn't in his right mind at the time. And I'll never forget. We tubed this calf and ended up killing it. And within minutes, it was dead. And I just through this whole thing, the people that came around, like my vet, I called him and I was like, listen, I'm not going to have another dead calf. So I need you here like now showing me how to do this. Yeah. And I mean, showed up instantly, showed me everything, and I could do it in my sleep now. It's just, second nature. But
there are doctors that have outstanding head knowledge, right? Absolutely brilliant minds, but have horrible bedside manner. And the same, I think, is true with vets.
Yeah.
So there are some large animal vets that are just like, they are coaches. They are teachers at heart, and they want you to be successful as a producer.
Yeah.
They care immensely about the animals. So like if you need help, they're just going to show up there and drop everything and come and help.
Yeah.
And then there are some that like, I don't want to say that's a rare quality, because I think there's a lot of vets that really are amazing at what they do, but that's not every vet. And so you're pretty blessed if you have one in your area, somebody that you can call on like that.
Yeah. And these, we actually just switched to a guy from, from Eldridge, Iowa, believe it or not. And, I swear to you, every time I called, man, they were there and felt like 20 minutes. Yeah. It might have been longer because they're coming from Eldridge, Iowa, but they were great. I mean, still to this day, great. They've been going through, they've been doing just everything for me. They help me all the time. But I think, going back to, the calving part and just the struggle of it all, I have to say that the amount of people, like, what I say is my team, from crops to Evan Marston at Marston Egg and FS. I've had 2 or 3, Dave Cooper, Brad Sunken, Joe Franks, like just every aspect of farming, like they were there, like they knew that Bill knew everything. Bill could do everything, but they also knew that Bill was struggling. Bill was going through the loss. And so yeah.
You were the guy and they had to get you up to speed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I don't even, I mean, really, I can probably tell you that, I mean, I remember little stories like that of the first couple of years.
Yeah.
But man, it was a blur.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. That's how most people feel about having kids. Like the first year or two where they're a little bit sleep deprived or whatever. They just feel like, the kids grow up so fast. I hardly remember any of it because it's such a blur. It's like, well, you were doing that and 87 cows and all kinds of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the time, I think they were farming around, I bet it was around 1,500 acres or so that they were farming.
Yep. Mostly. So tell me let's talk about the land for just a little bit. So this is Hoffman Farms.
Yep.
Okay.
So
what's the family history there? I mean, any of that you can share?
I know Bill's a 4th generation farmer.
Wow.
Started up near Edgington area.
Okay.
Is where the family was. His dad owned the farm that we're actually on now, bought that farm, and then Bill and Marion bought that farm from them. And so we're living in the house now. Currently, we own about 850 to 900 acres, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Probably 850 row crop acres, probably 950 altogether with pasture.
Yeah, some pasture and hay ground.
Yeah, hay ground. And then... so yeah, we have like 42 cows, running a cow-calf operation. Do hay.
And it's Angus primarily? I mean, it's
primarily started out, they were pretty much all Angus. But we've had I got some red Angus now. I actually got 2 Charolais on the farm right now.
A little bit of flavor.
Yep. So I'll take them all in.
Yeah.
If they're having babies, we're good. So, so yeah, he has all that acreage. I'm, I guess, under Litwiler Farms, if that's what you want to say, is running about 300 acres that I rent.
Yep.
Last year, Lisa and I were able to buy our first 40 acres.
Yeah.
So, which was huge for us. We've been trying for, it's been 10 years that Marion's been gone. So
yeah,
we've been trying for probably 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we
just kind of waiting for the right
Yep.
opportunity, the right time.
Yep.
Yeah. And being in that position where you can do it, you can make it happen, go for it when it came up. And
yeah.
it's pretty close to home too, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Just a couple miles down the road. So I should also say that during all of this, with if you go back to that January of 2013, my wife does taxes for Charlie's Tax Service.
Yeah, an accountant, right?
Yep, accountant. And so I should say that also. I mean, Marion was the accountant of the farm.
Okay, she was the bookkeeper.
So Lisa and I both got inundated, dropped in our laps, like, hey, here, take care of a 1,600 acre farm, all the finances, and with no prior knowledge.
Right.
I mean,
nobody there kind of training you up.
There was nothing. I mean, there was a tax guy at the time and an accountant that helped her, guided her, but she had to do it all.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then died in December, February. She starts tax season.
Oh, boy.
So she's she's in that same boat. She's trying to just balance 2 kids at the time, and I'm doing all the calving stuff still, and she's back to work, and crazy, absolutely insane times.
Yeah.
So
baptism by fire.
Yeah,
really.
absolutely.
I mean, right? So
yeah.
So one of the things we've talked about before is like how most people, when they change careers or whatever, there's a learning curve, and your learning curve had to be like shortened as much as possible. And so did hers.
Yeah.
And you guys, like, I have told you this before, and I've said it to numerous other people, that like one of the things I think is I admire so much about you guys is that when somebody meets you today, they would not have any idea that that you guys haven't been doing that since day one. Like, I wouldn't have known. I remember now, I think the first time I heard your name mentioned by my wife, she went to a homeschool co-op thing, I think it was, where they took all the kids in and they had like learning about the farm type thing. And she comes home and tells me about, well, here's what the kids did. They had this guy, Shay, showed up with a truck and trailer and brought a little calf out for them to see and talk,
Yep.
And she said she was so impressed because the way you were handling the calf, and the way you were talking to the kids and kind of talking about farming and talking about cattle and stuff. She's like, I just figured this guy's been doing this his whole life. And then after he puts the calf away, he's like, yeah, well, this is my second year, She's like, what? Like, you just decided to jump into this, but it's like, you guys, you got the grit and the tenacity to just be successful at it. And like, there's too much at stake there's no failing, right? Like, failure just wasn't an option. So you just
that was
tackle it and do it.
That was our biggest thing, Lisa and I both. It's like, either we're doing this or there's not going to be a farm.
Right.
I mean, who's going to do it?
Right. It's your turn to carry the torch.
Yeah, it was you're either doing it or it's going to fail, or, it's all going to get sold, or however it happened, something bad was going to happen. So
sure. Yeah. So tell me again, like now you're actually a landowner. We're going back up to, you purchased a 40 last year.
Yep.
What was that process like for you? I mean,
it was an awesome process in the fact that we had probably 3 tracts of land before that we were sure, like, we're buying them, and either
big plans were made.
Big plans were made,
yeah.
And either banker was like, hey, this isn't this isn't going to work,
Yeah.
or it, sold before we had a chance to, put the offer on or whatever it was going to be. But,
So you had a few dry runs.
Yeah. So in a lot of, I was very, not angry about it, but in the fact that, we're saving money. We're trying to do this. We're trying to make this work. And, why is it not working? Why is it?
Yeah.
But, Lisa just kept reminding me. She's like, hey, it's just not our time. It's just not our time.
Mm-hmm.
So this 40, I ended up, I went to a township meeting because I'm on the township board, and a guy sitting across from me, he's like, hey, my uncle's getting ready to sell this land.
Yeah.
And, I knew right where it was because it butted up with some farms that we were farming.
Mm-hmm.
And, the really crazy thing about it is because it was butting up to this farm, Tom Hoffman, and I can say Tom Hoffman all the way through, was integral in the cattle operation. Hay, like keeping me going. He was my farm dad, I say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he farmed this land, and I ended up doing a custom for him for like probably 3 or 4 years because I was right there. It was the same crop as ours.
Yeah.
Hey, give me the seed. I'll put it in for you. I'll take it out for you, And so I had been farming the land. I knew the land as soon as he said what piece it was. And I was like, hey, that's like exactly what we need right now.
Mm-hmm.
So literally gave him a phone call the next day, got his number from Jimmy Wood, and called Tom Wood and made the deal over the phone. I mean, it was, I don't know if it happened that next day or the day after. Actually, I think I called and talked to you and wanted your opinion on it.
Yeah.
And
pick some people's brains.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
make sure this makes sense.
Yep. So happened, made sense.
Yeah.
And so now we're landowners.
Yeah. Well, what's that feel like? Like you'd been farming, you'd been kind of had become a huge part of a family farm operation. It wasn't genealogically wasn't your side of the family, but now this is your family.
Yeah.
And here you are, like, kind of helping run this farm or spearhead things. You're the man, that's behind the steering wheel, so to speak. But is it different when you own a piece that's actually like got your name on it? What was that like? It's
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember going to plant it the first time, and this year, I haven't harvested a crop off of it yet, but I just remember pulling in there and taking a picture, and I sent it to Lisa, and I'm like, I'm farming our land. Yeah. Like, this is ours. It's nobody else's. Like,
and she's like, well, yeah, duh, big whoop, right?
Exactly. She's like, well, yeah. And she doesn't get excited about that stuff. But
oh, I'm sure.
She was probably excited.
Yeah.
But I was just ecstatic to be doing it. Now, quick side note is you have to go certify your crop, that you've planted it with the FSA.
Right. Yeah.
I forgot my own farm this year. I literally.
You're probably not the first person to let that happen.
I literally had everything down, and I was adding up acres, and I was like, this doesn't add up. What the heck?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, I was like, my own 40 acres that I actually own now.
40 acres light here.
It's not here. I don't even have the map for it. What is happening? So
yeah,
but
I remember the first time, like, after we bought a farm, it was something that I had looked forward to for so long, wanted it so bad. And when we finally got there, that, like, after that first deer season had passed, I walked out into the woods with a chainsaw. And I had done a lot of chainsaw work before, a lot of forest work, a lot of timber stand improvement, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, we're going to start here on this piece. And the first time I picked out the first tree I was going to cut, fired it up, cut this tree, and I'm watching it fall. And as the tree goes down, I, like, stepped back and I was looking around, and I was like, it was like I was waiting for somebody to yell at me. I was like, seriously, I was like, I felt like I'm going to get in trouble. Like, I just cut a tree down and then it really took a minute for it to sink in that, like, you cut whatever trees you want, Chase. Like, this is your property. You are now in charge. You're the steward of this piece of God's creation. So then it was just like, oh, wow, okay, that's kind of exciting. And then also at the same time, it's like, well, that's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a totally different feeling.
Yeah.
Even though it's a process you're used to doing, but when it's on ground that's got your name on it, it's kind of like, wow, it's my turn to do this and make sure I do it right.
Yeah. It's kind of surreal, really, because I didn't know when that day was coming, or if it was coming, that it would be, you know, my name on the Lisa and I's name on the on the deed or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. Hopefully we can own more down the road. But
well, see, so
you got to start somewhere,
right?
So.
That's what every farmer says. If you're in the farming business at all, they say, well, it's not that I need to own all the land in the world. I just want to own mine and then everything that touches it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's too much, right? There's a certain time where like there's something to be said about contentment and knowing that like you have enough, you know, that you've been blessed with enough opportunity. Make sure that you're using all the resources that you have as wisely as you can and just doing as much as you can with what you've been, given. But then, you're always trying to figure out like, how do I grow this? Because we always feel like in any business, right? If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place, I think, in most people's land ownership, where they need to decide like what the transition plan is. Like someday, is it going to be like, do you feel that you have one of your kids that's super interested in it, or is likely going to be the one that's, steps in, or is it going to be multiple?
Yeah. I don't know yet.
Yeah. And you're not trying to like put that on. Right?
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to push it. 'Cause I mean, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years ago or whatever, that wasn't what I thought I was going to be doing for the rest. I mean, I thought I was going to be a farm hand with maybe something in the future, but not when I was, 30 years old.
Right.
That's what my life was going to be. So, I mean, my son's interested in technology stuff, and I'm like, go in the ag world. There's,
right. Huge industry.
Just, you can do anything in there, but yeah, I don't know that any of them will, but I mean, ultimately I'm just trying to set ourselves up for, success in the future. And maybe that piece right next to the home farm, someday comes available, and
right,
I can sell that little 40-acre piece to make it work or something. So.
Right. Well, so that's the other really cool thing about land is that some landowners kind of almost become collectors. Yeah. I mean, it really is. It's like they're buying antiques, or like they're buying, trading cards or classic cars or something. Anything that people get excited about and collect, and that hopefully appreciates in value. They're all assets. But some farmers, once they put their name on something, they feel like, I'm never going to sell that. Like never, if my great grandkids decide to someday, fine, I'll be rolling over in my grave or what, and that's their mindset, that like land should never be sold. Well, sometimes there's opportunities where a piece comes up that makes sense for you right now because it fits your budget. Logistically, it works in your operation. You can make it cash flow. It will appreciate well, so it's an investment for you. But your eyes are always kind of open to the fact that like there could come a day where something else comes along that is better suited for you, works better, a little bigger, whatever, and then that's just almost a piggy bank or a savings account, if you will, that like sell it. And as long as we still have a 1031 transaction available for us to use,
right,
roll that into the next piece that, shores everything up.
I would say
you fall in that camp.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm kind of taking off where Bill and Marion left off a little bit, in the fact that they were really good at that. They were really good at finding a piece of land that was maybe under market value, buy it, fix it up, do what they can with it. When something closer back to home, like the year after Marion died, 55 acres right next to the house came available. And we had to make a decision, like, hey, Bill, what are we doing? Are we buying this? How, and we ended up selling pasture ground to buy that 55 acres next to the house. So which worked out good because that lightened my cattle load, which was ultimately
Ready
good.
to have a few less cows at the time.
So, and then another piece came up, 5 or 6 years later that was a family farm that, it was a big part of our farm that we needed. And so we sold another chunk, with some pasture and some tillable on it so that we could get that one bought. So now, own a lot of good ground around, real close to home, and don't have to travel far, and it's working really good for us.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't have employees. I have one guy that helps me every once in a while. And then,
you kind of have one hired man guy. That's part-time or
I would say part-time.
Yeah. Seasonal, or just like some seasons he's more.
He lives
closer to full-time than others.
Lives close to me. Was born and raised on a farm.
Yeah. Farm that size, you got to have some help.
Sadly had to sell his farm, and so he lives close, and I can call him and he'll come over.
And he loves doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
still wants to be working on a farm.
When you put him in a combine, he's like a little kid, because put him in a fairly modern combine compared to a old 6620 or something that he used to run, and he's loving every minute of it.
Yeah,
so.
a little bit more cush.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part? Like, what's your favorite part? Cattle or row crop or putting up hay, or what is? If you could just do one of those things, what do you feel like you get the most enjoyment out of?
I would say row crop. I like the technology side of it. I like different, trying new things, seeing what you can change and how much of a difference it makes, and I enjoy that part of it. Most of the time, I hate cattle. Just to be brutally honest,
I think most people who own cattle would say that.
Yeah. So
we all have a love-hate relationship,
but I'm the same. I say that, but at the same time, I'm the guy that that first calf drops on the ground, and I'm taking pictures of it and sending it to Lisa. And look at this,
dude! If an adorable, fuzzy little baby calf doesn't just melt your heart, you don't belong on the farm.
And I'll be honest, several of the pastures that we owned when we had a lot of cows didn't have good fence.
Yeah.
You're always struggling with it. You're
that
always
will
struggling,
wear you out.
Struggling with cows out, just nonstop. Well, a few years ago, we did put another 22 acres or 24 acres into pasture ground, and we did the equip program, and now I have 6-bar fence around everything.
Okay, so EQIP is Environmental Quality Incentives Program.
Yep.
For people who don't know that, that's through the FSA.
Yep.
So it's a USDA program,
Yep.
and as a landowner or operator, you can apply for basically cost share assistance, right?
Yes.
With some of those programs. So EQIP, in your case, you used it for fencing?
Yeah.
Did you guys do it? You can do a lot of different things with it. Anything else, or was it all?
So I put water drink. I ran water line out, and we have frost-free drinkers out in the pasture now.
That's a game changer.
Huge. I didn't think it would have been, but year like this, when all of a sudden you're dried up and you got water in the middle of the pasture, it's pretty nice. So we did 6-bar fence all the way around the pastures. Trying to think what else. It's basically we're setting it up for rotational grazing. Now, I rotational graze right now back and forth between the two pastures. Next year we'll have interior fences. So we'll have about 7 paddocks for the cows. So
yeah. And you do pretty much all spring calving, or do you do any fall calving now?
All spring.
Yeah.
So I start usually in March.
That's by design, usually because you want to be calving when you're not in the fields harvesting.
And I absolutely hated calving in January. So, and my in-laws always did. They always started late January, and it was just
can be rough.
It can be, and March can be rough too. You never know what you're going to get. And
in Illinois,
it might not be cold, but it's going to be muddy. So so what do you deal with? But yeah, so we start in March usually, and then. It's that equip program has been really good because I can go on vacation or just leave for a day or two and have George check the cows, and I don't have to worry about them being all over the county or
Yeah.
something, so, which is huge.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah. So yeah, I love row crop. But I also, I mean, there's a part of cattle that I love, but
Small part.
yeah, when they're not being knuckleheads and
Right.
trying to kill you at some point or
Yeah. So there's so many memes out there, and people have made millions of dollars on T-shirt sales and stuff that says like, "I'm sorry for what I said when we were working cattle."
Yeah,
like there's
it's
a reason.
true.
Anybody that sees that understands like there can be nothing more frustrating sometimes than trying to sort cows or trying to work calves that have never been through a chute before, or trying to, you think you have a strong witness until you, old mama cow challenges you. And then you're just like, ah.
So that just brought up a quick memory. That year after Marion died and we got these 86 cows, it was time to wean the calves. And I didn't have any help. And I'll never forget, my father-in-law was more of a ramroddy cattle sorting guy, like foursome.
I know the type.
Yeah. And I fall in that category sometimes. But Marion was always one that was just so calm the whole time. Just, if it didn't work the first time, that's okay. We're going to do it a second and a third time.
Right. Patience.
And so I wish somebody could have recorded the moment when I finally got all of those calves weaned. I mean, it was like I was Rocky, like running up. Like, yeah, I did it. Like, I was in the pasture screaming. I remember I was just like so proud of myself that I actually did it. And I was patient because it took about 4 times, and running all around. I mean, there was probably 25, 30 some at that pasture and I did it.
Wow.
But it was, it was a mountaintop moment there for,
you got to celebrate those little wins, man.
Yeah.
And
so
big milestone moment too, though, like I can imagine weaning that many calves, like, without having adequate help is just, that's
well, I went over there with I just went over there knowing that it was going to take me some time, but I just had to be patient and it'll work. Now,
and it has to get done.
There's plenty of times, like you say, that I'm glad there wasn't anybody there because I was screaming, I was yelling, every name in the book came out at the cows, but we finally got there, and so I don't know where I sidetracked there, but it's just
So what do you think? What's next in your family farm operation? Like, where do you see things? Are you just kind of at a spot where you're like, we're just trying to get more efficient in what we're doing, do a little bit better every year with it? I mean, or do you have any like big plans or goals as far as like changing up grain storage? We've talked about that recently. I think it was like, that's been something a lot of people lately have just been investing more and more in, like, hey, we really need more control over when we take our grain to market, and we need more storage for it to be able to do that. What do you have any, like, is there anything right now that you kind of got your eye on that, like, you're kind of hoping to make, come together over the next couple of years? Or
I think right now, to be honest, I'm very content in this season. Ever since I started kind of taking control or whatever, or, trying to run the operation, I've tried to make things more efficient because it's hard to find help.
Yeah.
And if you're not efficient, you're not going to get your job done. So we've changed up our grain system dramatically at home. Super easy to dry corn now, efficient. We can pretty much, it used to be we'd pick heavy 22-23% corn till about noon, and the bin was full and you had to wait for it to dry. So it was a pain. Now we're basically continuous flowing wet corn into the dryer's doing its thing, kicking out dry corn into a 40,000 bushel bin. And a lot of times I used to think that I was the one that had to sit in the combine because I had to know what everything was doing and I had to see everything. Well, I can grab the iPad at any time. I can pull it up on my phone at any time, see what the combine's doing.
Right.
So
You don't have to be in the cockpit.
So I like dumping the grain. I like checking, I'm really the only one that knows how to run the dryer. And so I'm in the tractor and wagons a lot, or truck or semi or whatever it is where we're at.
But you're pretty pleased with like how things are and how things are kind of running right now. Like what percentage of your grain would you say that you store and sell later or dry, or do you guys haul anything straight from the field and go right down the road with it?
Like this year, our strategy is soybeans are going to go be sold, and we're storing 75 to 80% of our. So they'll go straight
to like where, Big River or
Big River or Cargill, depending on a couple things. But yeah, we store probably 70% of our grain especially corn, on farm. I don't have as much storage depending on how things work. Maybe I'll use a grain bin at home, but a lot of mine goes and gets sold. My marketing guy sells pretty heavy for me, pre-sale, so that things work out a little better and I don't have to have storage hold some storage and pay for it. So, I'm really happy with the way we've made some equipment updates over the years that has made things super efficient. And, a lot of times it's 2 guys, maybe 3 guys running the harvest operation and I'm efficient at that.
Yeah. Don't have to have like huge staff. I mean,
right.
Anytime, like, I think anybody who's in business would agree that probably one of the biggest challenges or biggest headaches you have as a business person is like managing employees.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely nothing against the employees. It's just all of the extra stuff that comes with being responsible for somebody else's workload or payroll stuff. Thank goodness you married an accountant. Maybe that makes it a little better.
I thoroughly enjoy that I don't have to do anything with finances.
That part should definitely help, but it's still like, if you can, the more manageable things are for you without having like tons and tons of other people that you have to count on and rely on.
Yeah.
Because that's everybody in the business world today, and ag business is no different. That finding good help and maintaining manpower and training people up and handling payroll and workman's comp and all of those other things that come with,
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And then Tice is, my boy's 15 now. He's been around the auger cart for about 2 years now.
Does he like doing it?
He does.
Yeah.
He enjoys it. I updated auger carts a couple years ago. When he started, and my dad, well, I shouldn't say, almost everybody that ran the old auger cart, we ended up with a bunch of corn on the ground.
Yeah.
Because it was just hard. It was hard to operate. But
that would be what I would do.
So going into the efficiency thing, I made, what every kid wants. The auger cart now is ran with a joystick.
That's fun.
So it's super simple. He enjoys it.
Yeah.
But he's looking forward to coming out and working this fall. He's already talking about it. So
awesome.
He does a really good job.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
I don't know, a couple years down the road, hopefully one of the girls will get into it and start helping too. So.
Yeah. And who knows, a couple years from now, they might be marrying city cops that then end up to becoming farmers.
We're going to shy away from that as much as we can, but especially in today's world. But, but
awesome.
No, I think everything's going really good on the farm.
Yeah.
Really blessed.
Well, dude, I'm super happy to hear that. I'm really excited to have you on again at some point here in the future. I think we could jump into more specifics and I really want to hear more about what you're doing with cattle, because I know you love cattle. Not that I know how much you love cattle. I think because I was not raised on a cattle operation. We always had horses. So
yeah.
And now we have some cows. We're trying to grow that. And so it's like, I still kind of feel like a greenhorn in most respects with that. And I feel like it's fun to talk to people who like seem to almost know everything about cattle, but sometimes I learned more from talking to somebody who just figured stuff out recently. Or like, well, let me tell you what not to do, because I did this and then I tried that and now I'm doing this and that actually works pretty well. But
Yeah, if you want an expert, I am not the guy on cattle.
Don't sell yourself short. But yeah, still, I mean, sometimes it's cool to like to have discussions with people and learn from people who are kind of still learning it too.
Yeah.
Because they seem more eager to share the information, one, and then the other thing is like just more excited about what they're figuring out that's actually working.
Yeah.
When we first got into cattle, we had so many friends that are like, oh, they're a cattle family, and we're like, we got all kinds of people we can call and ask. So we call them and say, hey, I got an issue here. I think it might be foot rot. I don't even really know what's going on. You know, can you help me out here? I mean, and they're just like, well, you know, here's what we do, but most people might not do it that way. And like, didn't want to share a lot of the information because I don't know if they felt like they were going to lead us astray, or if it was just, you know, well, we might not be doing things the right way exactly. Or it was like there's trade secrets or something that they just didn't, you know.
Ultimately, it goes down to what is your setup?
Yeah.
You know, some people can get a cow in 5 minutes, no matter where they're at, and put it in a pen and give it a shot. And
sure.
Away you go.
Real cowboys.
Some of us have to go chase them down on four-wheelers and shoot them with darts because that's the only way we're going to get them.
Because that's what works in your operation.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to learn, and trust me, I'm still learning a lot. There's a lot of roads that I want to go down, but it's just how do you get there?
Yeah.
And especially right now, you know, raising 5 kids and being busy all the time and sports and all that stuff, it's like, you know, right now, I just need to be content. Yeah. I just need to not try a bunch of new stuff right now, not try to spend a lot of extra time because I got a family we're trying to raise. So,
right, which is top priority.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's so awesome that you get to raise those kids on a family farm that's like multi-generational and now is secure because you guys are, you know, in control and have kind of gotten a handle on things and seem to be doing like a really good job with it. So you should be proud of yourself, man.
We're trying our best.
Yeah.
Just
all right.
Keep plugging away.
Well, Shay, thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate you coming on as a guest.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of fun to kind of hear your story, get to hear, you know, the background, of course, but just like to get to share that with people who have that dream of maybe becoming a farmer someday or becoming, you know, a bigger part of a family farm operation. And I think it's good that like people realize that like not everybody, you know, was born and just kind of seemed to be like destined to become a farmer.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you won't end up there.
Yeah.
And also like it doesn't matter what it doesn't necessarily even have to be farming, but like if you have family who owns land, there's probably on some level there's an opportunity there for you. Sure. And, you know, in a lot of cases, like if it's a business that you're interested in or whatever, if you just kind of start to learn a little bit more about that business, learn a little bit more about the land, because honestly, none of us know how many days we have here. And so like to hopefully, you can transition into one of those roles a lot easier than what some of us, you know, have ended up in. But it's like, just if you keep your eye on those opportunities and, you know, maybe necessarily don't say, well, that's not the path that I'm on, so I don't care. I don't need to know that information. It's like, let your natural curiosity take you that way, because the more you can learn about it, the more you might like grow to really be excited about that opportunity, you know? And then when the day comes that like land is going to transition from one generation to the next generation, you'll be prepared for it, you know? Yeah. And it's because it's a really big responsibility. But
just realize early on that you're not in control.
You are not in control.
That you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So
yeah,
be prepared and don't quit.
Well, and know where to put your faith.
Oh, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Shay, thanks a bunch for coming on. Really enjoyed today's episode. Like and subscribe to join our tribe, guys, and ring the bell so you can get notifications when we put out more great content. If you have questions or want to give us a tip on a future topic that we could discuss, go ahead and drop that in the comments below. And thanks again for being here, and we will see you next time on Land Your Ground.